This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
So I'm thinking, Q, where does today rank in great off-season moves in Chicago sports history? You got Joe Madden,
Craig Counsell.
Yeah, Craig Counsell. Those two great moves. Let's see. When the White Sox did, what have the White Sox ever done?
Things.
We'll come back to the White Sox. So when
Bears getting Julius Peppers, that was a great offseason.
That was a good one. The trade for Jay Cutler.
Trade for Jay Cutler. It might not have worked out all the way, but that was an exciting day. We just talked about excitement. That was an exciting day. Landing Caleb Williams, another exciting offseason day. For the Bulls, drafting Derrick Rose. Exciting offseason day. Ben Johnson, he ranks somewhere up there because for once, we got the guy that everybody wanted, or a lot of people wanted. You know, Ben Johnson was either 1A or 1B in this coaching cycle. So to land the top available talent is refreshing after landing guys like Mark Trestman, Matt Eberflus, even Matt Nagy, guys that nobody knew about. You know what I'm saying? Ben Johnson is the darling of the sports of the NFL world as far as coordinators for what he's done with Jared Goff and the Lions offense. So this is big. This is a reason for Chicago to be excited, though. There should be no negativity about this move.
None whatsoever. I mean, when you think about it like this, Ben Johnson, like as you said, he was the number one candidate, not just this offseason, but last offseason too. And he had buzz the offseason before that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we've been hearing about him for 2 years. And he's been selective, and the coaching job he wanted to. He could have took the commander's job last year, and he didn't. He held out for the job he wanted. He got it.
After 19 different candidates being interviewed for the job, last one being Eddie George, the Bears 48 hours later hired their guy, and their guy being Ben Johnson. They didn't give him a second interview. That's how you know this is their guy. They waited for the Lions season to end, and then say, "Hey, look, all right, check it out."
Shout out to Jaden Daniels for expediting that process.
And sorry, Eddie George, because we know what it was.
Yeah, we Eddie, thanks for participating. Thanks for getting that Rooney out the way. You knew what you were there to do. But it's still a good look for you, Eddie. It's still a good look for you.
They couldn't offer Ben until they got somebody else in there to talk to.
Now with the Rooney Rule, how many minority candidates you got to interview? Because didn't they interview Flores and Aaron Glenn?
So I don't think Aaron Glenn they could not interview in person. You got to interview two minorities in person.
In person, gotcha.
So Flores, because his season ended early, they was able to get him in person. We was looking for the next guy. That's why we spent 10 more candidates trying to find the next guy to interview in person. Everyone that told me that the Bears don't have the most desirable situation for an incoming head coach,
they lied to you.
They lied. They can SMD. They can definitely SMD because Ben Johnson. Not only did he say, you know what, they gonna keep Eberflus, so I'm a hold back. I'm gonna stay right here, and I'm gonna cook Eberflus every time I see him, and get him fired. And then I'm going right to Chicago because I want to coach Caleb Williams.
He was smart enough to know, like we said last year, that there was no reason to bring back. We said last year after week 5, there was no reason to bring back Eberflus. Unfortunately, the Bears brass did not have the same insight we had. Ben Johnson knew all he had to do was wait out Eberflus. He knew Eberflus didn't know what he was doing.
And it makes perfect sense now. It makes all perfect sense. So, bro, remember what we did? We were doing a review of one of them games. I think it was a Thanksgiving game, and he had Penei Sewell out there trying to throw passes and shit. I'm like, what's up with bro? Why you trying to what he on with us? Why he on dirt with us? Because he was like, you know what? I don't respect that defense, Eberflus. I don't respect you. I'm coming for your head. I'm coming for your job too.
As he should have. I'm glad he did. Beat him and took his job.
Be embarrassed him on national TV, and then now he got his job. I like that about him. So while we on the subject, before we go too far, I do want to rate the excitement level. So you did bring up Cutler, and I remember very vividly. I remember very vividly when the Bears traded for Jay Cutler. I thought this was the dawn of a new era. I thought we was finna go, it was finna be a quarterback battle between Aaron Rodgers and Jay Cutler for the next 10 years, and we was finna be scraping them boys. Obviously, like you said, it didn't work out in our favor, but I'm only talking about excitement level. Does this hire surpass that excitement level when we got Jay Cutler or any other offseason move for the Bears or any other team?
I don't know if it surpasses it because we're looking at a player versus. You know what? I'll say for me, it surpasses it slightly because we're not losing. It cost us 2 first-round picks to get Cutler. So that was the downside of it. You lost draft capital. This one, you've already got the quarterback, and now you're finally pairing the coach with the quarterback. So, yes, I'm more excited because I think this is more of a sure thing than Cutler was, in terms of, we've already got the quarterback. Now we got the coach, and we're keeping our draft picks. We still got number 10. We got the 2 picks in the second round. So, yeah, I think this, as long-term standpoint, I like this even more than the Cutler move. Yeah.
Right. 3 picks in the first 41. 5th most cap room going into this offseason. And we should have more because there's about 15 guys we need to cut.
Whatever. I'm not so sure if Tremaine Edmonds or DeAndre. I think the roster is going to be reshaped. I know you're not going to want to hear this, but I think Ben Johnson, I think he's going to want a vertical threat. Keenan Allen, he came on late in the season, but I think to operate Ben's offense, you need a true vertical threat. I like Isaiah Bond and Luther Burden in the draft. They're not going at number 10 before you panic. They're not going at 10. But they're guys that one of those second-round picks can be used for. I think they fit perfect into what Ben Johnson wants. I'm just predicting what he would do with reshaping the roster. I think DeAndre Swift is in a little bit of trouble because Ben Johnson had DeAndre Swift before and reduced his snaps. Mm-hmm. So I think everybody was excited about the move, but DeAndre Swift.
That's you saw Caleb when the news came down. Caleb was liking stuff on Instagram, liking stuff on Twitter. Like, yeah, I'm rocking with this. And if you heard what he said on the St. Brown podcast, he wanted this move. He wanted
Ben Johnson.
Yeah, he wanted someone to challenge him. He wanted an offensive guy. I mean, why wouldn't he? Because he's quarterback. Quarterbacks like offense.
Yep.
And that's the word on Ben Johnson. He will definitely challenge you. Not like Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron is more of a he's more of a passive guy. He's more quiet. Not to say that Shane Waldron's a bum. I think he's a bum. Well, let me take that back. I think what he did with the Bears offense was bummy. How about that? Is that fair? That's more fair, right?
I agree.
So Shane Waldron is not the type of guy that maybe Caleb will respond to. Maybe the offense.
The offensive guys didn't respond to him. I think with Shane Waldron, when you saw him have success in Seattle, it was under Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll was the guy in the locker room that demands the respect.
Right.
So when you got Shane Waldron backed by Pete Carroll, you get a different Shane Waldron as a Shane Waldron backed by Matt Eberflus. That doesn't resonate. Yeah.
Right. No one's listening to Matt Eberflus either because A, he's a liar. And B, he just doesn't he's not that guy in a room. He doesn't win. He doesn't win the
people
room.
over. Doesn't have the charisma.
Ben, for one, he checks that box. Let's go over some more pros and cons for Ben. So one, obviously, the big pro. We already said he was the guy, the number one hire on anyone's board. Not even counting the New England Patriots because they just wanted one of their guys, right? So they don't count.
Yeah.
He was a number one guy on the board, and the Bears got him. That's the biggest that's the biggest pro going for Ben. I think another one, and I think this is very easy. He didn't smoked every defense in the NFC North for the last 3 seasons.
Very true.
And now he's coming to us. Now get ready. We already better than the Packers. We already better than them. So all it takes now, we about to be eye level with every other Detroit and Minnesota.
And you also hurt Detroit. That's a big thing. You hurt Detroit by taking their offensive mastermind.
Hey, Q, who's got the best winning percentage in the NFC North in 2025?
The Bears.
Yeah. The Bears are undefeated. Undefeated in 2025. Bear down.
The Bears.
Another pro. I think for Ben Johnson, him not having any head coaching experience, you can say that's a con. And I know Tiffany would say that's a con as well. Even though in the last episode she said he was her number one guy on her board. But I think it might work to his favor because he's not a head coach. And because most people had saw him as the next wonder kid, the next hot thing smoking. You don't know which way he's going. Everybody's trying to get onto his staff already, and we'll talk about more about that later. That reports out there that he's already putting together, as Adam Schefter said, star-studded coaching staff.
Yeah,
I don't think you get that with an established head coach. I don't think you get that with a Mike McCarthy. I think he's got his, his certain type of guys. Probably wouldn't have ex-head coaches on his staff, right? Same thing with maybe Vrabel and some other guys. So, do you care about that? About him not having any head coaching experience?
I mean, yeah, but it's not a breaking point. It didn't deter me from making him the number one guy on my board with this Bears team. I think this Bears team is still growing, and Ben can grow with this team. And I think like the pro of Ben Johnson is that he's already respected in NFL circles, and they expect him to be long and tenured. So guys like Dennis Allen, top assistants, they'll come here. That's something we didn't see in the Eberflus era. Eberflus was not able to attract top coordinators and top assistants because he was kind of a no-name. He wasn't a hot coaching prospect. So Ben Johnson not having any prior head coach experience, you could chop it up as a con, but I think that's not anything to worry about. Everybody has to start somewhere. Every coach has to start somewhere. So I think he'll grow into the position. And I think he's a guy that may not have head coaching experience, but he's been operating that offensive side of the ball for the Lions as their coach. You know what I'm saying? So he's been running that side. It's not like he's a Nagy coming from under Andy Reid, where Andy Reid is over the offensive side of the football and Nagy is a disciple. No, Ben Johnson was the offensive mind behind and the offensive philosophy in Detroit. That was his philosophy. So I'm not too worried about that because Ben Johnson has already led a unit. So, and he's coming in here to do what he did in Detroit, be a play caller. He will have one of the best defensive minds on that side of the ball running the defense, and a guy with head coach experience too. He's going to have a very good staff full of experience. So I'm not too worried about him not having head coaching experience because he's going to have a great support staff. And that's something that Eberflus did not have.
Another thing about that, I want to push back a little bit about Eberflus being able to attract good coordinators or good assistants. Cliff Kingsbury. He had the opportunity to get Cliff Kingsbury.
He had the opportunity.
And he was a little what's the word? Intimidated by Cliff
That's
Kingsbury.
what I think as well. I think he didn't want, when you bring in a guy like Kingsbury, who, although his head coaching track record is, he's been a head coach. He's been a head coach at a major collegiate program. He's been a head coach in the NFL, and he's a guy that knows offense. So you bring a guy like that, and I don't want to say he's going to undermine you, but he's going to have more of a voice than a Shane Waldron. You know, Shane Waldron, passive guy. That's what he appeared on the surface. It didn't appear like he was much of a disciplinarian that players responded to him. It just seemed like Matt Eberflus can install what game plan he wanted on the offense. And kind of Guys like Cliff Kingsbury aren't going for that.
Eberflus thinks he's Lovey Smith. You ain't no Lovey, dog.
You ain't no Lovey. He definitely tried to become Lovey. He even grew his little beard out like he was Lovey.
Lovey don't get smoked by the Packers. You ain't no Lovey, dog. You better get the best coordinators in here for you.
Lovey came in here and won 3 divisions. Exactly. He won 3 division titles.
Lovey can fire a coordinator that's getting a little too hot in the pants. You can't do that. You better bring the best in.
Yeah.
Another con, and this one Tiffany said in the last episode we was going over our top coaching candidates. Ben Johnson's going to want Caleb to play on schedule, so he's going to probably coach out. And maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. We'll see. He's going to probably coach out some of that ingenuity, some of that spark, some of those things that make Caleb pop on tape, right? I'm undecided about that. I'm undecided if I even care about that, right? I want results. This is a result-based business. I care about the result. Do you care if Ben Johnson has to reshape Caleb, into a, like, I guess, golf-like mode?
I don't think Ben Johnson is coming here to do that, though. If you hear, first of all, Ben Johnson is a very creative coach. We've seen that with the Lions offense. We've seen the play design. We've seen the things he's done. I don't think he's coaching Caleb Williams to be golf. I think he coached golf to the best of golf's ability. Golf isn't a guy with mobility. He's a classic pocket quarterback. If you listen to Ben Johnson in the past, he raved about Justin Fields' abilities to extend plays. He raved about having about what you can do with Justin Fields, and he echoed the same things with Caleb Williams. I think I think Jared Goff's style makes people think that Ben Johnson may just want a quarterback that says, I actually think Ben Johnson can get real creative with Caleb's mobility, his legs. I don't think we can just chalk up and say Ben Johnson's going to make Caleb into golf, because he's definitely appreciated what Justin Fields and Caleb Williams can do to extend the play. So I think you'll see some things where you mirror the play action with things like outside stretch zone and come back on bootleg, where you mirror certain concepts in the run game to the pass game to take advantage of Caleb Williams' athleticism. So I wouldn't just be so sure that we're going to see a totally different Caleb Williams. I think what we'll see is a much more disciplined Caleb Williams making much better decisions. I think Ben will coach that up out of him. We're not going to see him going back 20 yards to taking sacks. One, I think Caleb will mature as a player and understanding what he can get away with in the NFL. And I think Ben Johnson will go through the tape and look at the negative plays that Caleb had, and they'll figure out the whys or why that happened, and they'll eliminate those going forward. So I wouldn't get too fixated on the idea that you'll see a Caleb Williams that is just a pocket guy that doesn't extend plays still or use his legs. I think you'll see some design quarterback runs and some design plays to take advantage of his mobility.
Hope so, because I don't. The worst thing you could do to an artist is take away their creativity, right? Make them. Justin Fields said it the other year. Make them play in a box, whereas you don't want to take away their ability to freestyle. I hope he doesn't. But also, to your point, he did a lot of goofy shit this past season.
Yeah,
took sacks he didn't have to take. We can blame the offensive line till the cows come home. Some of the 70 was on Caleb. He's holding the ball too long, waiting for something to open up, trying to make something happen. Like, you just throw the ball away, bro.
I think what Ben will try to get out of Caleb is to be more decisive. If you're going to take off and get up the field, look to pass right away, or look to make a play with your legs. I think some of the 70 sacks that we saw, I got to go back and look at them. I know we keep saying we're going to get to this film, but a couple of them, in all fairness to the offensive lineman, when you're blocking and you got your back to the quarterback, you don't know where he is if he's moving outside the pocket. So the defensive lineman is facing him. He can see So you're at a disadvantage when you're trying to block a guy and a quarterback leaves the pocket because you don't know exactly where the quarterback is. So you don't know where your leverage points are as an offensive lineman. So when you initially get in your stance and you're blocking for the quarterback, you know where your leverage is. You know where the quarterback is in the pocket. When he gets to move and the play gets extended, you don't know where he's at. That leads to holding, that leads to sacks. So I think they're gonna rein Caleb in a little bit, but I don't think they're gonna eliminate the things that make him special.
Shout out to Deshaun Watson. We spoke about how this hire affects Caleb Williams. Let's go a little bit deeper into that because there's two people that this hire directly affects. Not just, I mean, he is the head coach, so it affects the whole record staff, record label, and the whole motherfucking crew, right? But it affects Caleb Williams and Ryan Poles the most.
Yes.
So let's talk about those two guys. What does this do for Caleb Williams in the let's say first season? That we expect Caleb Williams to be an improvement, right?
Yeah.
To what degree?
I think Caleb Williams, unlike a lot of Bears Nation who only skim stuff on the surface and glazes Jaden Daniels, who's a terrific player, I expect Caleb Williams to have an improvement on a year where he threw for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 62%. I fully expect Caleb Williams to produce at a Pro Bowl level next year. I think we've seen what Ben Johnson was able to get out of Jared Goff. I don't think Jared Goff is the same talent that Caleb. I think Caleb Williams is a higher talent than Jared Goff, and that's not to dismiss Jared Goff. He was the number one pick as well. So this was obviously a guy who was a high prospect. I think Caleb, with his mobility, I think he's just a more talented guy than Goff. I think he has a higher ceiling. So I expect Caleb Williams, even in year one, learn a new system. I expect him to produce at a Pro Bowl level next year. I'll go on record. That's what I think. I think 4,000 yards, assuming health, 4,000 yards, 28 plus touchdowns, and still in a single digit interception. I think you can see that. I think the interception total may rise a little bit. He may take more chances. Ben Johnson may want to push the ball down the field more, but I think you can look at a guy that's going over 4,000 yards and approaching or going over 30 touchdowns.
The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer or a 30 touchdown quarterback.
He'll do both next year.
The Bears.
My thing on Caleb Williams, one, we talked about this is the exact hire that he was looking for. So that's a bonus right there. We are already winning the offseason. Our number one quarterback got the exact guy that he wants to coach him. You can't do no better than that. That's 2 straight offseason in which we got our guy. We got the quarterback and we got the quarterback whisperer. Perfect. I'm with you. I expect Caleb to have a dramatic improvement in year 2. One because I expect the whole offense to have a little bit more fluidity, just to be better coached in that sense. And for Caleb himself, I like the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over. I like the fact that he, isn't reckless. He isn't a Jordan Love. He isn't a Brett Favre. Can he throw the ball into more tight windows? Can he take more chances? Sure. I don't think that he didn't to the most part, but can he be more productive with his
aggressive?
throws? Yes. Can he be more aggressive? I mean, why not? And I think that goes to the play caller. I don't think that has to do with him. I think that's the play caller. Can we cut out the 12 to 15 quick screens because they don't go nowhere? One thing I saw in the divisional round, in that game between the Lions and the Commanders. Shout out to the Lions. I mean, the Commanders killed our season 2, so we know how it feels. The one thing I did see, both of them teams were throwing quick screens that were getting results. I don't know why we do it and we go nowhere. We get 1 yard or maybe lose 3, one or the other, right? So if we can either cut that out of the offense altogether or start getting some better perimeter blocking, Caleb, that's already a boon. That's an added 300 yards to Caleb right there. So you're already on the doorstep of 4,000.
Well, I think with why their quick screen is more effective than ours. When you look at the Lions and Redskins, Commanders, sorry, the Lions and Reds, I did it again. Lions and Commanders offense, the spacing and the levels concepts, where they attack and how they attack, keeps defenses guessing. The Bears go in trips concepts, and a lot of times it's going to be a screen, or the Lions and Commanders will operate out of that trips and will attack all levels of the field. So a defense can never get adjusted to, we're going to jump the screen. I saw a couple times last year, defenders were, especially corners, they're off the ball 8 to 10 yards, but as soon as the ball is snapped, they're attacking the line of scrimmage towards the bubble screen. I think, and I don't think the Bears offense did a great job of mirroring, like I've used this before, mirroring certain concepts though. So you give people different looks out of these formations, and I think the Bears got to do a better job of self-scouting. In addition to scouting other teams, you need to scout yourself in your own tendencies and break those tendencies. So I think that's what you saw with the Lions and Commanders and what you didn't see with the Bears. So I think the quick screens can be effective because DJ Moore is a guy that operates really well with the ball in his hands after the catch. But as you said, there was too many screens and not going vertical in challenging the defense down the field. It let them sit on the screen. So, they can cut down the screens a little bit, but they can use them more effective. That's the most important part.
I think the worst part about this hire is that it's another move, feather in the cap move for Ryan Poles. 2 off seasons in a row that extends his tenure.
Yeah, but this one puts a lot different pressure on him because when you get and Ben Johnson is not an established coach. He is not an established coach, but he's getting paid. He's getting paid $13 million. Is that the rumor?
The rumor is that, for what I'm hearing, is somewhere between 4 and 6 years, and maybe 4 and 5 years, and about $60 million, something like that.
How much?
$60 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay, you're bringing Ben Johnson in here, and Ben Johnson had lots of leverage. Ben Johnson could have went anywhere except for New England because, like you said, New England wanted their boy. Mike Vrabel played there. He's a Patriot, homegrown. Any of the coaching openings, Ben Johnson could have took those jobs. So this is a guy that comes with leverage. This is the guy that's going to come, and he's going to want to shape the roster in the image that he wants. This is different from the Eberflus hire. Eberflus is grateful to have the job, and Ryan Poles is able to operate with autonomy at the draft. No, Ryan Poles, you can't operate with autonomy in this draft and free agency anymore. You're not going to go give Ben Johnson Ryan Bates and he's going to say, oh, thank you. No, this is the type of potential coach where he goes above your head, or because he has the contract he has and he's getting paid, ownership says, you know what? Ben says he needs this. And Ryan Poles better get him that. Ryan Poles can't bring Damon Shelton and Ryan Bates to Ben Johnson and say, here you go. Ben's not going for that. Ryan Poles can't get retread receivers and position players and skill players and say, here you go. Ben's not going for that. Even in Detroit, Ben was able to get a Jahmyr Gibbs and a Jameson Williams and a Sam Laporta early and get Ziegler, a top free agent guard, into the fold. So I think this puts more pressure on Poles because I think Ben Johnson now has more leverage in the organization. He's a fresher face and has the longer contract. And this is Poles' second coach. So, and you don't have a winning record yet. So I think the leverage is with Ben Johnson. I think this changed the Poles timeline. Poles got to produce a winner now. And he's got to stop playing with the cap space. You're going to go out there and you're going to get players this year. Okay, we're not going to keep running around with all this cap space and playing around with the draft capital and drafting punters in the 4th round. No, you're going to get the business this year, Pose, or you're going to be out.
I'm thinking they extend his contract because he's got a secret contract. We don't even know how long his
we
contract
don't even know.
is,
Yeah.
right. But it's going to be tied to what Ben Johnson's got. And that's another pro for Ben. You know, he can find guys in the draft. I still think he overdrafted Jahmyr Gibbs, but hey, so what? Jahmyr Gibbs is top 3 running back in the league.
It works. It worked.
Right,
I would love a Jahmyr Gibbs in Chicago. I'll tell you that.
How they get 2 Barry Sanders in my lifetime, I don't know how, but I'll take that. That's like you said, Jamison Williams. He came in. He was hurt when he was drafted, right? Wasn't he?
He had torn his ACL, I think, in a bowl game or at the end of the season with Alabama. So yeah, he came into the season. At the draft time, he couldn't even work out pre-draft because he was rehabbing the ACL. Yeah, right.
So taking swings like that on guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you found the 4th round. I don't know. I don't know if you got. I don't think he was there when they drafted Penei Sewell, right?
Penei Sewell was either his first season or the season prior.
Okay, yeah, I'm unsure about that, but Glasgow, guys like that, Laporta, the list goes on, and then the other guys that are unheralded, Craig Reynolds, Tim Patrick. These guys are good fixtures. These guys are. Who would you rather have, Tyler Scott or Tim Patrick?
Tim Patrick.
Right. I mean, if we could go ahead and we could flip this roster from what it is now to something more modern and respectable in one draft, that's the guy you want. That's the type of the eye that you want on prospects.
And in all fairness to Tyler Scott, I don't think he's been utilized properly, effectively, or at all. So I want to see what a Ben Johnson would do with a Tyler Scott because this offense desperately needs a vertical threat. DJ Moore's a guy with speed. Rome Odunze has speed, but they're not really vertical threats that specialize in stretching defense and scaring. DJ Moore is a guy who can get deep. I mean, Roman DJ can beat guys deep, but they're not vertical threats that strike fear in your heart, like a Jamison Williams. DJ Moore is a guy that does a lot of damage run after the catch. Odunze is kind of a possession receiver with some vertical ability. But Tyler Scott is a speed guy, so I wonder if Ben Johnson can make use out of him or if they're going to go in free agency and get maybe a Chris Godwin or go in the draft and get an Isaiah Bond or Luther Burden with one of those second-round picks if those guys can last there.
Yeah, so all in all, for Ryan Poles, I don't know why. I don't know why Ben Johnson wasn't hired last year. Maybe he felt like his seat wasn't hot enough, and he just needed his buns were cold and he needed to warm it up.
We both said Ben Johnson should have been the pick last year on the show. We said last year. I don't know. I don't understand the delay. It was pretty obvious.
I understand the delay. I understand the delay because, as I said, Ryan Poles is a student of Chicago and Illinois' politics. He is for his guys. He put his homies on. Eberflus is one of his homies, so he gave him too much rope before he hung himself. That's why he stayed.
That and front office is political. Like with Eberflus in there, that's your guy. He's your underling. He's your yes man. You maintain leverage and power within the organization. You bring in a Ben Johnson and your position on that totem pole, your power and authority in that draft room, in that front office, it changes. Like I said, Ben Johnson is not going to accept certain things that Matt Eberflus does. Matt Eberflus, hey, I want to bring in Keenan Allen. Sounds good. I want to bring in Ryan Bates. Great. I want to bring in Damon Shelton. Love it. That's the Eberflus's response to every silly thing that Poles wants to do that is unacceptable. I want to draft Darnell Wright instead of Jalen Carter. Love it. Poles needs some opposition in his front office. He needs somebody to say, that's stupid.
I'm going to say it again. Jared Verse is right there, and we took Roman Duza. I mean, after we traded for Keenan Allen, I don't get why we did it, but again, Roman Duza may be a Pro Bowler, All Pro next year. I don't know. We'll see.
I like Rome, but the advantage of Jared Verse, and I think we got to stop looking at it like this. Jared Verse, he was a guy the year before. I don't know if you remember. He decided to come back to Florida State. And I didn't understand that because he was going to be a top 5 pick. Jared Verse came into the draft at 24, and that was one of the reasons why he slipped. And I've got to admit faults with that one because I slid him down my draft board too. When the year before I felt he was a top 5 pick. I was hoping Jared Verse would be our pick at 9 if he was slipped the year we took Darnell Wright. I like Jared Verse a lot, but he went back to college and was 23, 24 during that draft. So I think a lot of people just felt like they looked at the negative of his age instead of the positive. The positive is Jared Verse came in NFL ready. He's the guy that saves your butt. He's the guy that saves your butt as a defensive coordinator or as a head coach because he's already a grown man at that edge rush. One of the things that I worried about with Dallas Turner, who I think is a good prospect, but Dallas Turner's 21, still developing that man body. Jared Verse already is a grown man, as you saw. That's a grown man. Yeah, he was available at 9, but there's a little bit of age discrimination in the NFL and NBA with these picks now.
Yeah, discrimination sucks, especially on Martin Luther King Day. Happy birthday to the King.
All discrimination sucks on this inauguration and MLK Day.
Let's extrapolate a little bit to close up the show. The rumors is that Ben Johnson is already shaping up his coaching staff, and good for him. He already knows what he wants for whatever job he's going to take, and the rumor is that he's bringing in Dennis Allen, former Saints head coach. In fact, he's a 2-time head coach, right? I believe
so. Well, I think he was an interim coach at one of his stops.
Right. He was an interim coach at one of those stops, so I'll give him 2-time head coach. Even more so.
Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator.
If that rumor holds true, and he gets pegged to be if he gets hired to be the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, it's a lot we can go with this one. How excited would you be? Is that a good move for one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They said he's had 5. He's with 5 different teams. He's had a top 10 defense. That's big. That means he can go anywhere with talent on the roster and produce. He's done it at 5 different stops, top 10 defense. And that's one of the benefits of hiring a coach with credibility. No disrespect or all disrespect to Eberflus. When you hire coaches with credibility, you can get coordinators and staff with credibility. Dennis Allen may not have worked out as a head coach at his previous stops with the Raiders and Saints, but he knows defense. He unquestioned in his years of being in the NFL, he coaches defense.
You cannot deny that those Saints teams and those Saints teams used to fly around to the ball and smack people.
Even his time is with the Broncos and the Raiders, they had good defenses. Yeah, the Raiders finished top 10 with him.
About his defense, so the reason I asked with this, obviously the name on paper, the resume, it stacks up. You would like that in. I like it for the simple fact that because he has prior head coach experience, Ben Johnson doesn't have to do so much CEO and so much supervising the defense. Like, hey, look, you already know what you got going on. You handle that. Just report to me on Saturday what the scheme is, and we good. He ain't got to do none of that. He can focus on what got him hired, was getting him paid. That offense, putting in that scheme, putting in that work over there. Dennis Allen, he got that over there. All right, but here's the thing: Dennis Allen's defenses are known to be very aggressive, right? My second question, over under 5.5 sacks for Kyler Gordon.
5.5 sacks for Kyler Gordon?
Yes.
Ooh. How many did Kyler finish?
If this is true, if he gets hired, if this is true.
Kyler missed what is Kyler's career high in sacks?
I would probably guess 3. Nothing too crazy.
I'm gonna go slightly down. I'm gonna go 5 because I think Kwani B, as long as he comes in healthy, I think he's gonna get him some.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Kwani B gets him some too.
Another thing about Dennis Allen's defenses, they play a lot of man because they're so aggressive, right?
Yeah.
So if you, me, and anybody else was ever worried, I mean, not worried, but ever wondered why Jalen Johnson didn't travel, or if he was actually that guy, actually a top 5 corner.
Gonna see it.
Yes, we are going to find out if Dennis Allen does get hired. Tariq Stevenson, strap up your chin strap, dude. The balls are coming your way. No Diddy.
And Tyreek, Dennis Allen, Ben Johnson, they don't play that. Them guys don't play that. Man, be focused. Any of that undisciplined, rah-rah, silly stuff, that'll get you benched. That'll get you gone. I'm very interested to see how the Bears reshape this roster, because Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson, as you said with Dennis Allen, he's aggressive, definitely has defensive players. He definitely has a certain type of defensive player that makes his system go. You're gonna have a lot of pressure on corners. So I'm interested to see what the Bears do in the draft at corner, in free agency at corner, because there's going to be changes. There's going to be changes. If not changes, there's going to be competition. Very interested to see how Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen impact this roster, and what guys are safe, what guys are not safe.
I just really can't wait to see what they do with what kind of changes they do in the trenches, because the fat boys. See, you said earlier that you would like this wide receiver, that wide receiver, and one of them second round picks. Q, you already know how I'm going with this. If you weigh less than 290, I don't want you in the first 2 days. I want somebody that's gonna move somebody. That's all I want.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what we do in the offensive line. I would love us to get a substantial veteran on the offensive line. Go out and get the best offensive lineman in the free agent pool. I don't care what position he plays. I don't care if he's tackle, guard, center. Go out and get the best guy. Go get some dogs, please. Go get a dog on the defensive line. We've been way too passive addressing the trenches. Poles, like you let Greener, you let Danielle Hunter. I'm looking at the playoffs, and I'm seeing a bunch of guys who were Dante Fowler for the Commanders. I'm seeing a bunch of guys on both sides of the line of scrimmage that were free agents that came in and contributed to the teams that are remaining. That's got to change, Poles. That's got to change.
You saw that the right guard for the Philadelphia Eagles, he's as big as a tackle. That you can't let stuff. Gotta stop letting players like this just go right past you, bro. We talked about
even in the division, we let a lot of guys. We let the Lions and Vikings get a lot of guys in the trenches that we could have used. Zeitler for the Lions, Greener from the Vikings. Who's the other guy the Vikings went to the Pro Bowl? I think the Vikings are running like a 3-4.
I mean, Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel was available.
Just constant. Yeah, we can't do this.
No.
We can't let them sign these guys. And we're trading for Ryan Bates and Damon Shelton, and signing DeMarcus Walker, and signing retreads from the Colts.
Exactly. Speaking of that, retreads. The Baltimore Ravens, 2 straight summers, they go into training camp and sign a veteran edge rusher. While we're looking for edge rushers, they signed two straight summers. They get Jadeveon Clowney, 10 sacks. Cut him. Cal Van Noy, 10 plus sacks. They probably gonna cut him too. And while we're still trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. I'm tired of Poles settling for and I don't understand why he's doing this bargain shopping in free agency. I think we both agree that you don't need to prioritize running back But on the first day of free agency, we signed DeAndre Swift, and the Eagles are getting Saquon Barkley, the Packers are getting Josh Jacobs, and the Ravens are getting Derrick Henry, and getting a lot more bang for their buck than we did. You know, Swift wasn't a necessity. I mean, and he wasn't a guy. I told you I like Swift, but if you're going to go spend free agent money on a running back, those were the guys to spend the money on, especially when you had a cap space. Other than that, you should have just stayed in the draft and got a guy like Bucky Irvin.
I will take this with it, right? I am so happy that the Bears actually spent the money. They'll get a top-notch coach because we've said it before. The Bears hasn't hired a coach with prior coaching experience. They've only done it one time since George Halas, and that was John Fox, right? So I'm happy that even though they didn't go that route with prior coaching experience, they spent the money to get the guy that they need. And I'm using that word need, not want. This is a need, right?
It's a need.
Do the same thing in free agency. Spend the money to get the guy you need. And we got a lot of guys we need. No Diddy.
Yeah. Kudos to the Bears. For a second, I've been saying Ben Johnson was using the Raiders and Jaguars as leverage. But for a second, I thought we were going to walk away from this coaching cycle with somebody like Mike Kafka, who may one day be a good head coach. But that was not what this fan base and this organization needed to recharge it. So I'm glad they got it right.
How pissed would you be if we had got somebody like Bobby Slowick?
Pretty pissed.
Pretty pissed.
And no disrespect to Bobby Slowick. He may turn out to be a fine head coach. But for the Bears, where they're at, they needed to go get the guy. They needed to recharge the organization. You saw the tweets from Bears players, Jaquan Brisker, excitement over Ben Johnson. Jalen Johnson, excited over Ben Johnson. That's what we need. We need the guys ahead in the training camp excited and on their toes ready to compete. I mean, now, how pissed would you have been if Brian Flores was named head coach?
See, Brian Flores, he's got head coaching experience, so that's a good. B,
he would have been an upgrade over Eberflus.
He's definitely an upgrade, and I think he's going to fix the culture, and that's the number one thing I want fixed with this thing. I want the culture fixed, right? I think he'll do that. The one thing is, I don't want Poles hiring his boys anymore. I want Poles to do the work. I want Poles hiring people on merit. And Brian Flores being a friend of Ryan Poles, that was an instant no-go for me. And I said on the show that the second Ryan Poles walks into your office, Kevin Warren, and says Brian Flores is my guy, is the second you fire him.
I agree with that. And I agree with no more friends from the standpoint of somebody needs to oppose Poles when he comes up with these concepts of trading second-round picks for Chase Claypool. Or I know Ben Johnson will say, no, the hell we not. no, the hell we not. Or when he decides that instead of rewarding Roquan Smith with a contract, you're going to trade him for a second-round pick. No, the hell we not. Or when we decide to draft two defensive tackles. Now, shout out Javon Dexter. I think he's a good player. But Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens, instead of just taking one really good one in Jalen Carter, man, no, the hell we not. We need somebody who's not Poe's friend to say, absolutely not, bro. Right. You're not doing that.
Season prediction. I don't even want to go down that path right now because the last time we did it was terrible. Even though we know who's on the schedule, we just don't know when the games are.
Hey, listen. Our prediction on the schedule was based on the team playing at least near to its ability. Thanks to Matt Eberflus and Tyreek Stevenson, you got to take a bow too.
Nate Davis.
The Commanders game, you got to remember, the Bears didn't allow Jaden Daniels to touch the end zone through 59 minutes and 59 seconds of that game until Tyreek celebrated instead of doing They held the Commanders to all field goals. That's what type of team the Bears had on paper. And this was minus Jaquan Brisker. He sat out that game. This is the type of talent that they had. There was no reason the Bears shouldn't have got to 10 wins. So I don't feel that bad that we fell short of the expectations. If anything, I feel embarrassed that was a coaching staff that was assembled, that was able to underperform to that great of a degree.
Yeah. And on paper, this is still a good team. So
it is.
With an upgraded coach, and Ben Johnson is definitely that. Get everything moving in the right direction. I feel like this team is going to contend for a division title next year.
I can't wait to run that game back with the Commanders. I'm saying it now. I can't wait to run that game back with the Commanders.
Yeah, they owe us a fade.
They owe us. They owe us that fade. I feel like they did us like Craig when he beat Debo. Yeah, you beat me, but you picked up a brick to do it. You ain't doing with these, you know.
That's why Debo was chasing him all the next two movies. Like, nah, you got to run that back, folks.
The Bears.
And that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna get that back. We're getting it back in blood all 2025.
All 2025.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Thanks for listening to this latest edition from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Whether you listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And all my homies from Chicago, we say three things: bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.